It's Rob and Brent and my Reggie dude, and don't forget it also features Dawson too. We gonna give you all the dope reviews, but first we'll hit on all the movie news. Cha-ching, cha-ching, box office due. In between the news and the reviews, there's not a lot that we don't do, so turn the volume up, cause we coming through. Put your headphones on and tie your shoes. Jackman and Grant, we got all them hues. We're like Brando in Godfather 2. We're gonna make a podcast you can't refuse. This is the Cinema Chat Podcast, and we know a lot about movies. Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's another episode of Cinema Chat Podcast with Rob and Brent and Reggie, featuring Dawson. I'm Brent.
I'm Reggie.
And I'm featuring Dawson.
You're also featuring that desk bump and that chair squeak. What are you doing over there, buddy? What you got going on?
I had to go get something during the intro, and then I forgot something. I had to go grab something else, and then
you were trying to hurry back.
I stepped on something that was on the ground, and I fell into my chair. So,
well, we're gonna fall into this episode. That didn't work. That did not work. But we're going to be reviewing Soul, Disney Pixar's Soul, which is available on Disney+. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do some movie news. We're going to do some box office. But before we get there, there's a question that I must ask you. And you are required to answer said question. What did we watch this week? Let us give you a peek. We'll get to the news real soon. First, listen to this little tune. Give us the attention we seek while we tell you what we watched this week. Tell them, Rob. What did you see? Tell them. They want to know. Rob is not here, so Reggie, what did you watch this week?
I really just watched two things. I watched Into the Woods, which just came back to Disney Plus. I guess there's a streaming rights issue or something, so that, like, it was gone for a while, and then it came back on the 17th of December or something. So I was like, well, I've been meaning to watch it, so I just somehow missed it when it came out in theaters, so I watched it. And
that's a musical?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, was it what I expected it to be? I don't know if I'm disappointed, but there's less singing. I don't know. I expected it to be full on musical. It just wasn't that.
This John Denver's full of shit, man.
So I watched that, and then I watched on Netflix History of Curse Words with Nicolas Cage.
I need to watch that.
Which was amazing. Like, I really hope that they have a second season. Like, I don't know where you go for a second season with the words that they covered, but I do hope there is a second season, because it was a lot of fun, and it was like Nicolas Cage was the perfect host for that show. So I highly recommend it.
Would you say...
And I'm really here for it. I am here for it.
I need to watch that. Dawson, what did you watch?
I was kind of torn this week. I started watching Cobra Kai season 3. So that was good. That was fun. I'm only 3 episodes into that. And then I also started to watch History of Swearing, or Swear Words. I'm only 3 episodes into that. So I'm halfway there, basically on both of them. But
well, Dawson, that's interesting, because you're like a Venn diagram. You're like the center of the Venn diagram for Reggie and I. Because while I haven't watched the History of Swear Words, I am in the middle of watching Cobra Kai season 3 on Netflix, and I've been going to bed really late this week because, Dawson, we've been playing a game called Rust.
Yeah.
and it's ruining my life, basically. I've been up very late playing that the last few nights, and then last night I decided, you know what, I'm gonna hang it up earlier tonight than I normally would, and I went to watch Cobra Kai, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch one episode of Cobra Kai, and then I'm gonna go to bed. And then, God damn it, if they didn't hook me with the ending of the episode, I was like, I gotta watch the next one. And then I watched the next one, and they hooked me with the end of that one. So I had to watch. I was like, I'm only watching the first 5 minutes of the next episode. So I went to watch one episode, and it turned into being there for an hour and a half, instead of 30 minutes or whatever it is. So I'm enjoying that show. It is great, especially if you are a fan of the Karate Kid series, because they have a ton of it's a ton of fan service, Reggie, but it feels so good. It's they do. I feel like they do it well. They're giving people what they want, and and
I'm really here for it.
So yeah, it's a good show. I recommend it. I believe all 3 seasons are over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it seems like people like it.
One more.
Yeah.
I remembered, it's not like a movie. Netflix has a 7-minute short out. I was scrolling through and I saw it and I watched it. It's called Cops and Robbers. It's a 7-minute short. It's basically, it's kind of like, it's like a 7-minute poetry. It's hard to explain what it is, but it's flowing and it's about when we were kids, we used to play Cops and Robbers, and now it's moving. Watch it. I got a little teary-eyed. It's like 7 minutes. Watch it. Everyone should watch it, especially after this is the last couple weeks.
You know what? I'll say this. There are a lot of shorts lately on Netflix that are really good. And I don't know if, I hope, I hope that maybe they continue that, because every year when the Oscars, they're the best short, I'm always like, man, I would like to know where I can see this stuff, you know, because you can never see, I never know where to see shorts, unless Pixar puts it in front of one of their movies or something. But Netflix has been really pumping out these shorts, and they've actually been really good.
Yeah,
short form films and animation is pretty interesting.
The description of this title on Netflix, or the description, it's an animation, so it's mixed. There's people and there's animation, cartoon mixed in. Animation and activism unite in this multimedia spoken word response to police brutality and racial injustice. Yeah, so it's really good, really good.
Not that we're going to do it this year, but I believe every year AMC has all of the nominees for best short. They put them all together, and you buy one ticket and you watch all of them. Obviously that's not going to be a thing that we do this year, but in future years, Reggie, if that interests you, maybe check that out.
Yeah, I will.
Are we ready?
Great to know.
For the movie news?
Yeah.
Cindy, the news is on.
Insightful. It is on.
If the headline is big enough, it makes the news big enough.
Timely.
The news goes on for 24 hours a day.
Well prepared.
You like Huey Lewis on the news?
Well, I got some bad news for you.
Do you want the Aladdin news or the Aladdin news?
The Aladdin news?
This is movie news. All right, Dawson, what do we have?
So this week, there's not a lot, especially over the holidays and the new year, but there are a couple things came out. A lot of it is DC related. They've got a huge quota to fill now.
Wait, what do you mean a lot of it? I'm looking at this. Every bit of it is DC news.
Yeah, I know. There was a couple other things that just popped up, but my pages aren't opening. I'll see if I can find them. I'll improvise on the fly while we discuss. So the first thing we've got here, Justice League Snyder Cut. We've talked about how big of a budget they had to reshoot and put this together. It's been confirmed there's only 2 new scenes they had to film for this whole thing, and they both involve Jared Leto as the Joker. So, I mean,
wait,
that
wasn't one of the big things about it like they cut a ton of Joker stuff?
Well, that's what they cut. They've already filmed it. That's what I'm saying. Like, these are the only things they had to go in reshoots. So the original cut, like Zack Snyder did, he had like 4.5 hours of footage, and what they cut out is what we're gonna see.
I know
the reshoots they had to do where they did 2 scenes.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they cut out a bunch of Joker stuff.
Yeah.
And you're telling me he had all of this Joker stuff that was on the cutting room floor, and he needs to film more stuff with the Joker?
I mean, the direct quote here says, "A very small portion of the movie is new stuff that I shot. Like 80-something% of the movie has never been seen by anyone, visual effects wise, and that's not even including the scenes that you guys got that I've never seen, that don't have visual effects. That part's really exciting. I can't wait for everyone to experience a giant scale adventure the way I intended." Snyder also indicated that one of the 2 scenes involves Jared Leto Joker. First of all, it's clarified there's 2 bits that I added. One bit that I had really sort of hoped to shoot in the post, but never had a chance to. There's one scene with Jared. The whole little piece with Jared, the truth is the rest of the 4 hours movie is really just what I shot.
Yeah. All right.
It's a long quote, but I guess.
Well, I mean, I can see that. That doesn't... Because he didn't get to finish the movie, so it would make sense that if he had been able to finish the movie, there may have been 1 or 2 reshoots. So, I mean, that scans for me.
Yeah, but do you buy that's all this... as much as they talked about bringing people back, and it felt like they came back more than once, perhaps, or multiple people at different times, like... They could say whatever they want. Like, he can say... I guess I have to take it at face value. But I'm skeptical. You know? I don't have any information that leads me to believe that he would be bending the truth. Other than the fact that I just don't buy this is going to be the movie he wanted to put out at the time.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I think 2 things can be true at the same time. Like, I do think that there are some reshoots that he probably had to do because he didn't get to finish the movie, but I also think that some of those reshoots, or some of the things, or rather the way the movie is edited, is going to be edited in a way that he would not have edited had it come out, had he been able to finish it as he wanted. So, like, because there's no way that you don't see the backlash to the Justice League movie and say to yourself, well, don't do that, even if that's what you intended to do.
Do we have a release date for that?
March.
That's all we get, March? No
yeah,
date?
it'll probably be like March 15th or something like that, or I don't know. They're probably not going to try to compete with March Madness if that's there.
Let's see.
Wait, is college basketball playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Coming to America, Raya and the Last Dragon, and then Warner Brothers has The Many Saints of Newark at the end of the month. So I would say it's probably at the beginning of March. Because, they're doing that thing where... Well, I guess this isn't part of that. This is a HBO Max original. It's not one of the theatrical cuts that is leaving in 31 days or whatever. So...
Didn't they say they were going to put it out in theaters?
I'm sure they'll probably do a limited release type of thing if you want to go see it, but...
I mean, they've billed this as an HBO Max thing since its inception, so...
Right, but I thought I remember them saying that they were going to put it out in theaters as like a 2-part event or something like that, since it's 4 hours, so that you could see it in theaters if you wanted to, or I don't know. I would have to look it up or something.
Yeah, I mean, that could be true. I don't remember that, but that doesn't mean it's not true. So, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I hope it's good. And I will watch it with an open mind. I've resigned myself to watching it with an open mind. And you know what? I think I'm going to watch the theatrical cut before I watch it. Take it
I'd
easy.
watch it with
Take
you
it easy
again.
with that mic over there. You'd watch it with me again? Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't move. My hand was on it. I can't leave my hand there for the next hour and a half.
Just sitting there with it on it. It makes this weird, like, echo bang kind of sound. I don't know. It's fun.
That's because the cord. I'm trying to get the cord, and it's touching the springs.
Oh, well, mute.
I'm trying to get the cord out of the way. It's fine now. I got it out of the way now. Anyways, Ray Fisher is no longer going to be. He's no longer return a cyborg after he was going to come back. He's not coming back anymore. So for anything future down the road, they will be recasting, I guess.
I wonder. Go ahead, Reggie.
I thought that seemed unclear to me if they were going to recast or not, or if it was just he's not going to be in the Flash movie. Like,
oh, it says here, yeah. It's the rumors are false. The recasting are a lie. Cyborg is not in the Flash and is not a role that they're being recast. So, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that because, like, my initial response was,
"Oh, I didn't really prep for the. You read the headline. See, I didn't. As you can tell, I prepped really well for the show before. But no, read the headline. It says The Flash. Ray Fisher no longer set to return as Cyborg. So it sounds to me like they're gonna recast him, but he's just not even in the movie.
Right. He was supposed to be in the movie to some capacity, we don't know, but like Cyborg in the Flashpoint story kind of plays a prominent role, but well, there's been a lot of drama around Ray. I guess,
yes,
yeah, a lot of drama with the whole Ray Fisher thing because Joss Whedon and the way he treated people on set. Especially, I guess, Ray Fisher's got a lot of the brunt of that, and they are basically playing like trying to like cover their own asses. WB was, and one of the problems that I think really sparked all this is that this all came while they were doing that merger. So there were people trying to cover their own asses so they didn't get like laid off or fired. And as a result, I guess, like, there were decisions made that weren't good in any kind of PR light. And it's really, I don't know, it's kind of fucked up. If the worst of the allegations are true, then a lot of people should be losing their jobs. And even, like, the most generous interpretation of events isn't good. So it's, I don't know. Like my initial response when I saw the story was I might just be done with DC and the WB until they figure out what's going on, until they finish their investigation and everything. Because like one of the problems is apparently Joss Whedon basically whitewashed Justice League. Like there are a bunch of roles that he got rid of because they were too ethnic or whatever. And like there's a lot of scenes that you see on the cutting room floor that weren't in there. And it's like, well, if that's the case, and then the whole thing with Gal Gadot and the, Flash boob thing. So it's like, I don't know. It's easy to be like, fuck WB, especially considering they can't get their shit together. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn with what to do with this because it's just not a good look for anybody, really.
Yeah, it's not a good situation by any stretch. No matter how you would even try to spin it, if you did, like there's no logical way that you can make it okay. And I kind of thought that whenever it seemed like Ray Fisher was coming back, I guess he came back to do the reshoots on Justice League, which, he's probably contractually obligated to, but it did seem like it was starting to kind of get smoothed over a little bit. So I don't know if him not being in this movie is any indication of things not being okay. It'd be interesting to see what happens moving forward. But, that character never got its due on screen in addition to what happened on set. So I don't know. It's pretty easy, I think, at this point for them to just act like the character doesn't exist.
Right.
Because he had such a minimal role in the movie. So I don't know. It's certainly, it feels icky, I guess is what I would say. Like, I don't really know how to feel about it.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing, because like it feels wrong, but you don't know why because we just don't have the information. Because like you said, it would be easy for them to just get rid of Cyborg because he had such a small role. But then it's like, well, the reason it's a problem is because he had such a small role, because apparently there was a bigger role. So like, it's like, it's weird.
Yeah.
One of those, something's wrong, or but you just don't know what it is,
right?
Kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Well, after we get to see the Justice League, the Justice League cut, the Snyder cut, buckle up because we'll probably eventually see the Ayer cut. Mostly because everyone's backing the Ayer cut, and the latest jump on the train is Jared Leto. He advocates that we should all see the Ayer cut, probably because he has more in it. He's in it more, and we all need more Jared Leto. So.
Oh, man, I don't know how it's not like he didn't get to finish the movie. I mean, sure, the studio might have interfered with it some, but it's not like a Zack Snyder situation where they took him off of the movie and supposedly changed 80% of them, basically redid the movie, right? This is a situation where he did it. He maybe didn't get final say on the cut, and maybe they changed a few things that he didn't like. I can't imagine it's a wildly different movie.
Right. He just wants to redo it.
Well, here's the thing,
stupid.
I guess playing devil's advocate, considering what DC has given us, whenever their hands are in the pie, I could believe that maybe there was a better movie. Because, like, when you look at the first trailer versus the trailer that we ended up with, and even at the time Ayer was like, they went and let the people who cut the trailer edit the movie or something. Like, apparently he didn't have as much editing control, if you believe what he says. But that could also be a case of like fan forstick where you're trying to cover your ass because you put out a bad movie.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. I was like, are we going to get the Trank cut of Fantastic Four next? Like, are we just going to redo every bad movie that ever came out? Like, are John C. Reilly and what's his butt, Will Ferrell, are they going to go back and do Holmes and Watson over again and make it funny this time? Like, oh, we're going to make the movie we want to make now. Get the fuck out of here.
I did see a topic brought up on Reddit the other week, and it was like, you get to pick one movie, you get to pick one actor, and the rest of the cast is Muppets.
Yes.
I saw that and I was like, that could be a fun little cutting room floor, like, but you got to make a good Happy Times murder.
Oh. That left a bad taste in my mouth, just the thought of that exercise. Ugh.
But it could be like your favorite movie. Like, we have to take your favorite movie now and destroy it and say...
It's like make Scream, but Ghostface is a real person.
No,
the rest
Ghostface
of the cast.
Ghostface is a Muppet.
No, I want Ghostface.
And everybody else is a real person. I didn't want to flip it. Just a killer Muppet. He's a killer Muppet. Or Ghostface could be killing Muppets, yeah.
Child's Play with Muppets? What does that look like?
It's puppet on puppet crime. Moving outside of that, we're gonna wash our taste buds from Suicide Squad for a minute. Kind of a confusing week on this whole Batman, who's going to take over. There was reports that Michael Keaton was going to take over kind of in the Flash as a Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury type of role and start to reassemble a new Justice League. That was sort of denied, but I think it's probably going to work out that way just because it caught a lot of steam, and it seems like that's the thing that fans want. So if DC just ignores that, which they will, or they might, I don't know. But it seems like that's like the way I would want it to go, and that seems like the way Reggie would want it to go. Give him the story he deserves to piece together the pieces. Give Batman Beyond, a new Batman. It'd be fun.
Man, teasing me with Batman Beyond, trying to get me back on board. I mean, that's the way to do it. But like, I said this in our group chat. My problem is I don't trust them not to fuck it up, and like I would rather them not even make the attempt because I don't want them to mess it up. Because once they do it and it's messed up, then it's perpetually messed up.
No, that's not true. We'll just get the cut the director originally wanted on HBO Max 5 years later. The worst thing that could have happened for Michael Keaton as Batman was fans getting excited about this, because it means Warner Brothers is going to do the exact opposite of what anyone wants.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited to have Michael Keaton back as Batman. I love him as Batman. Like those first two, Batman Returns and Batman 89, fantastic. Like I love Michael Keaton, and I like him in the cowl. So I'm pumped to have him back, but I'm not really gonna get my hopes up too much, because until they show me, it's not really anything. Like, is there anyone on the planet that thinks this Flash movie is gonna be 75% as good as Spider-Man 3? Like, they're essentially doing the same thing, right?
Pretty much.
Oh, see, okay, yeah.
No, not the Raimi one.
Yeah, I was like, are they?
No, the third one.
Oh yeah. And again, that's the problem with DC, always dropping the ball. So now, like it makes it look like they're the copycats when they did it first.
Right.
Well, and Spider-Man's going to be first to market. Like, even though they announced theirs first, they were moving on it first. Like, Marvel has their shit together, and it's going to be out before DC gets theirs out. So,
yeah.
I don't know why they can't get their shit together. And I don't know why we have 9 different DC stories.
And what makes it worse is that we don't even have a script yet for like Flashpoint. Like, it's in pre-production or something.
I did see, I mean, I don't want to throw too much news in there, but I did see that they are planning to start shooting The Flash in April in the United Kingdom. So
they must have a script.
They got to have something started, at least a solid enough outline where they're going to get it finished up in 3 months here. But
you would think, we'll see. But they might be writing it on set.
Right.
They'll just throw rumors out on the internet, and the fans will be like, no, that's terrible, or that's great, and they'll just go with whatever sounds great. Feed the rumor mill. That's what I would do if I was a writer.
Yeah, but then you would take the ideas that people really want to see and you would do them.
You'd be successful.
I don't think that they would do that. I think they'd be like, you know what?
Americans love television. They've weaned their kids on it. Listen, they love game shows. They love wrestling. They love sports, violence. So what do? We give them what they want.
And they completely forget about a good story. 100%.
Exactly.
Let's give them all the explosions. Let's give them all the brooding characters. Let's have them line up in a line together, and we can show them off. We can show how shiny and new they all are.
Let's shoot a blue beam into the sky.
Dude, I hate to be so down on them, but they've done this. It's their fault. It's not my fault. Don't shoot the messenger. I didn't do this. It's their fault. Fucking Warner Brothers.
You know, just to play posit a theory or question, I guess. Mm-hmm. What if they do release an Ayer cut, and it's amazing. And then they release and the Snyder cut is amazing. Does it just mean that WB and DC are the ones messing up these movies and these properties? Like, if that is the case, what does that mean going forward? It doesn't mean anything going forward.
It's really tough to say, right? Because, like we mentioned, these recuts of these movies have the benefit of hindsight. So you'll never really know what the cut would have been, especially with these movies that they're doing. I mean, when did these movies come out? 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, something. Yeah,
it's been a long time, and they've had a lot of, they've had the biggest possible focus group that you could have, right? I mean, it's a massive focus group. They got tons of notes, and I just don't know. I'm not gonna take. I don't feel like I'm gonna take away from this. Like, oh, Snyder knew what he was doing, or Ayer knew what he was doing, and Warner Brothers fucked it up. I think it's probably a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B in most scenarios. And if they are successful, the second part to your question, I don't think it changes anything. I don't think they relinquish a bit of control. They're going to continue to do things the way that they want to do it because they have yet to show that they're nimble in any shape, way, or fashion. They're not going to pivot. They refuse to pivot.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think you're right.
They have this I don't know anything about the Flashpoint story. I know nothing about it, but just from what I've kind of heard, it seems like a perfect opportunity for them to have this movie and sort of reset. And start doing solo movies that aren't interconnected, maybe. It seems like a perfect place to reset. So if they were going to start making some kind of changes and change the way that they do things and give more control and do different types of movies, this seems like the time to do it. I don't think there's a lot on the line because I just don't think that they're going to take advantage of that opportunity. I think it's going to be more business as usual. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I hope they prove me wrong because if they do, that means that we're getting good movies that we want to watch. As opposed to a Wonder Woman movie where you don't see Wonder Woman for an hour and 10 minutes at a time. So, I don't know. I'm feeling very negative right now.
Well, that doesn't make you feel good. Then maybe you'll feel good that Suicide Squad is going to get an R-rated film. So we're going to get an R-rated Suicide Squad movie from James Gunn. That's what's coming out. So that could be fun. Violent, lots of swearing.
Yeah. I mean, I would rather it be rated R than PG-13. So I think that's a good choice. Was Birds of Prey rated R?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
right. Because I think it passed it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I do think that that's a good sign for that movie. It's definitely a step in the right direction. Because if it was PG-13, what would your first reaction be? Fuck that movie. Fuck Suicide Squad. Just let DC be the R-rated comic book studio.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Be more violent. Be okay with that. Be more adult. Like,
they got to do something. They tried the darker thing, and it hadn't really worked out. And I think that's part of what worked so well with Birds of Prey was, they changed it up a little bit. They lightened the mood with that movie, and it worked. They're trying to find their differentiating point from Marvel. Like, they don't want to be copycat because, like you said, Reggie, like, Marvel's always first to the plate. Even whenever they don't have the idea first, they get it out first. So they got to find ways to do it, and it's going to be stylistically. Because Marvel's not going to change what they do stylistically. And Marvel's damn sure not going to do R-rated movies. So I think I think that's their in with fans. Like, make adult comic book movies as opposed to
general audience.
Yeah, that's a better. I was gonna say I was like for kids, but it's not really for kids. So yeah, general audiences is probably a better term. Make your fucking R-rated movies. Get your F's and S's in there.
Unlimited F's.
I mean, seeing some of these. Well, never mind.
No, go ahead.
I go there.
Okay, maybe not. I will defer to you on that.
Yeah, that's yeah.
No, not those F's.
All right. Do we have anything else?
Nah, the only other thing I saw was apparently Chris Pine knows Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron plot, and he says he wishes her the best of luck. And if anyone can bring a fresh flavor to Star Wars, it's her.
That's an interesting way to state that.
Yeah, he knows the plot, and he's like, "Yeah, good luck," because he's not involved with it. He just talked to her about it.
Good luck.
And he's like, "Yeah." So she's like, she's gonna have an interesting take on it, and she can do it. So,
does that inspire confidence?
No.
An interesting take?
No.
That's basically like saying, "Well, I guess that is one way to do it."
Just based on the invisible jet and how smooth that just sailed through the fireworks, I don't want to watch a Star Wars movie with that.
It's like you could do it that way, or you know what? You just make the movie you want to make, Patty. Oh dear God! All right, ready for some box office?
Yeah,
office.
Box office. Box office results for the weekend of January 1st through the 3rd, 2021. Welcome to the new year, ladies and gentlemen. And we just talked about Patty Jenkins, her movie, Wonder Woman 1984, #1 at the box office for the first weekend of 2021. It dropped a steep 67%, probably because of that word of mouth. $5.5 million. Number 2, The Croods: A New Age, $2.2 million. Number 3, News of the World, $1.7 million. Number 4, Monster Hunter, $1.2 million. And number 5, Fatale, $700,000. Also, interesting enough, number 9, Alien, made $75,000 in 505. No, it doesn't list how many theaters it was in. So
Alien as in Ripley Alien?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 2020 re-release, $75,000. That went well. I mean, they're not making anything else off of that movie, so might as well try to get something out of it.
I guess.
But yeah, that's the box office for January 1st through the 3rd, 2021. And that takes us into our feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
Soul, Disney Pixar's newest movie, released on Disney Plus, Christmas Day of 2020. It's written and directed by Pete Docter and Kemp Powers, who is the co-director, starring Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton, Alice Braga, Richard Ayoade. I don't know how you say his name.
Ayoade.
It's the dude from the IT crowd. Is that how you say it, Reggie? Ayoade? Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Felicia Rashad, Questlove, Angela Bassett, Daveed Diggs, Wes Studi. A lot of voices of people that you know in this movie.
Rachel House.
Rachel House. Would you look at that? Yeah, so it's a Pixar movie. It's about a musician who is trying to get his big break, and then he winds up falling into the sewer and dying, and he's taken away up to the literal stairway to heaven. And he's not ready to go, and that's when, as Rob would say if he were here, the hilarity ensues. So guys, this Pixar has a habit of making movies that play well for children and for adults. And they generally get into sort of a little bit of a deeper concept than your typical kids movie would have. This movie in particular feels to me to be Pixar's first movie that I would say is more for adults than it is for the kids. This movie played much more mature than their other movies, I think.
I agree. Like, if I was a kid watching this, well, it's hard to, I guess, look at it from a kid's eyes, but, like, I don't know what this movie was like for them, because there was comedy in it, but it didn't, I don't know how much of that would have been accessible to kids. It seemed very much a story for adults who are like, like, be happy with the way that you're living your life, and if you're not, then make sure to, change it, find, basically find your spark. And I don't know if that's a story or something that kids would really even understand.
I think it deals very heavily with existential things. And I think that's a difficult concept for kids.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like you said, I have kids. I didn't watch this with my kids. My kids, as far as I know, haven't seen it. So I couldn't tell you what they thought about it. I do think that there would be things in here that they would enjoy. But quite frankly, I feel like this is an adult movie. Like, right. A lot of times they make kids movies where they sprinkle in adult stuff. And I feel like this time they made an adult cartoon where they sprinkled in stuff for the kids. Sort of like almost a complete 180, I would say. I was surprised by it in a good way. Like, yeah, I really loved this movie, just to sort of get that out there right away. Like, this is, if we had waited to make our best of 2020 list, this would have been on mine.
Yeah, it definitely would have made my top of 2020 also.
So
same.
There were a lot of things in it that I liked, even outside of the story, like technical things that they did, because some of especially the backgrounds in this looked very realistic. Uh-huh. They did an excellent job with the animation. And then I think we have Meowth in there, and Meowth, when in our watch party, whenever we watched it on Discord, Meowth loves animation, like it's all she watches. So she knows a lot about it, and I will defer to her on a lot of things in animation. And she was talking about how some of the art styles, the mixing of the 2D and 3D stuff that they were doing with Counselor Jerry and stuff like that. Like she said, that's just stuff that doesn't get done very often. They don't really get mixed all that much. So I thought that was interesting. They did a lot of really cool stuff with depth of field, making some things in focus while the background's out of focus, or the foreground out of focus while the background's in focus. That's something that you have to do with live action movies. And they haven't really... Well, I mean, I guess they have done it with previous movies, but it felt like they played with it a lot more. And I think the fact that they had the realistic looking backgrounds in it, because it takes place in the city, right? So you've got a ton of stuff going on in the background. I think that they did a lot of that sort of helped with the realism of it. And I think that also plays into the fact, like, they were trying to make an adult movie because they've done a lot of things that sort of, I guess, feel at home for adults, visually speaking, but still sort of like wrapping it up in the animation coding. as someone that doesn't watch a lot of animation, like I watch Pixar, but I don't watch a ton of other animated stuff. Like this feels like a much more accessible movie, as you said earlier, Dawson, to a general audience, as opposed to parents with kids. You know, we have men in Discord with us, and he doesn't watch Pixar movies, and this was one that I think that he really enjoyed. And I think that speaks to like the accessibility to a wider audience than their other movies. Like I would recommend this to everyone, adults at least. Like, I don't know if I would recommend this for kids, quite frankly.
Yeah, because then it's just, I mean, especially how young they are. That's why I debated. I'm like, I don't know if I want to show this one to my kid. We were scrolling through Disney Plus the other day, and she's like, "What's that one? Can we try that one?" I'm like, I don't know. Because it opens up questions, and it's not like I've had deaths in our family, right? I've had tried to explain that, but it's still hard, and this is just gonna. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good film, but I just don't know that she would be into it. I think she would lose interest.
Well, yeah, she's at a kind of a tough age for that, quite frankly.
Right.
Like she's just starting to question things, and she's trying to figure it out. And you know, I don't know that a movie is the best way to go about that. At least it wouldn't be for me, I would think. I don't know. It's tough. I think she's at a kind of the perfect age to talk about like this movie's sort of a little inaccessible. Not even just because of the questions it might bring up or the feelings it might give them, but also like I just don't know that they would understand it. Right.
Yeah, and then there's like the lost souls that are pretty creepy later on too. That would, that would freak her out for sure. So yeah, I would say like this is definitely not like a 8 and under type of movie.
Yeah, and I think that's
I don't know.
I think this was a good way to release this movie. I think Disney Plus is the right avenue for this film, as opposed to a theatrical release, because I think what you wind up with the Disney Plus route is they're probably going to get more eyes on this movie than they would have otherwise, and more of the right eyes. And by that, I mean less people who are going to see a Pixar movie because their kids want to go to the movies, and more people that are stuck at home on lockdown like, I have Disney Plus, I'll check this out. Why not? And realizing, oh, Pixar's doing this? Like, men, like, like, oh, this is what Pixar's doing now. Like, maybe I need to check more of their stuff out. It feels like the perfect movie for this new sort of release idea that they have, going straight to digital as opposed to the theater. I don't know how well this plays to the crowd that would have seen it in the theater.
Yeah, I feel like this would have been like, I'm probably going to take my kid to this if this was in theaters. Well, and there wasn't a pandemic going on, but like, it would have been like, yeah, I probably would have taken her to see this. And then it would have been kind of like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Reggie, what were kind of your overall thoughts of the movie, like from a high point perspective?
I guess I have a not complicated relationship with Pixar, more like I really enjoy Pixar movies, but well, I don't know. It's kind of like faulty them for being great, because I kind of feel like when I've seen a Pixar movie, like it's always good. So it's always like, I don't know why. I never feel like I need to rush out and see a Pixar movie. Like if this had been released in theaters normally, I mean, I would have seen it for the show or whatever. But like left to my own devices, I probably would have been a month or so before I saw this, or I probably honestly would have just caught it on video when it came to some streaming service. And I don't know why that is, because like it's really good. I mean, it was an amazing story to tell and everything, but like I expect them to tell me an amazing story, so it's a weird thing to not be as impressed by people who always do well, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I get that. They're sort of a victim of their own success,
right?
In a way. But they also have made Cars 2 and 3, and
but I haven't. I guess it does not help my argument that I haven't seen their bad stuff, because like the worst Pixar movie I have seen is Incredibles 2.
Wait, weren't you like talking about how overrated the Toy Story movies are?
Oh, that's Jonathan.
Oh, okay. Sometimes I get you all mixed up.
I have only seen the first 3 Toy Story movies.
You didn't review the 4th one with us?
No.
No, really. I would have sworn that you did. Interesting. He says, looking back through the year that come out, 2018. So you feel like the you expect them to be good, so you're kind of always you feel like it's good, but you still kind of feel like meh.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there are things in this movie that I really enjoyed. Like, I really enjoyed the way they. You know what? Since Rob's not here, let me talk about the pacing. I thought the pacing is, I guess, if there is a complaint, it's the pacing. Like, it started out really beautiful and everything, and then it just, I feel like there were some things that kind of got compressed in the middle. And then, because there's one point where I had to pause it and I came back and I was like, at the point where I feel like the third act was beginning to wrap up, and then it was like there's still like 40 minutes left, and I was like, how? And it doesn't help that they're like 20 minutes of credits for some reason.
Yeah, really weird.
Yeah, so that kind of threw things off. But that being said, like I really enjoyed that, and I also really enjoyed that from a more personal perspective, that like it felt like a movie where it was heavily like minority cast and almost but not a black movie, even though it had a lot of black characters in it. Like it's a movie that's very accessible to anybody who watches it, even though you had like people from all walks of life in it, And I thought that was special, but like some of the things that were more, I guess, black, I really felt they hit home with and did justice. Like when they're in the barber shop, I was like, God, I'm gonna be honest. I miss going to the barber shop after watching that scene, because I was like, my God, it's been like a year since I've been in a barber shop, and I was like, that scene, I really missed it, and especially when he was like. The one guy goes, "Oh man, you're gonna let him jump in front of me?" And then he's like, "Well, you go to so and so's chair because it's empty." And the guy's like, "Nah, I'm good." And that's so true. Like that is such a for real moment. Like I felt like I was at home when I saw that scene, and that was really, again, that's what Pixar does. They hit you right at home, like in the in the feelings, as they say. But like they do it in ways that you don't really expect.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect to get such an emotional response from a barbershop scene.
Yeah, my barbershop used to have the guy that only people that said they didn't care who they got, that's who they got. Like anybody else that knew better is like, no, not going. Anyone but them, basically.
Right.
See, and there was like, there's a lot of things that popped up. Like Reggie, like it feels a very theme is a very black movie, but there's not a lot. It doesn't feel that. Like in that barbershop scene, there's a reference to Colin Kaepernick, and like one of the people's in the shop kind of looks like him. And there's going through a lot of these notes here that I have. There's one of the characters gets name tags of mentors that's trying to walk her through how to get to Earth, and a lot of her mentors were extremely strong, like Michael Jackson, Prince, Martin Luther King, Steve Jobs, Aretha Franklin. It's like there's a lot of these people that have been the soul's mentors and predominantly black. So it's it's cool. I like to see that. But yeah, there's just little details like that throughout the whole movie that just give it, and it's like, this is cool.
You know what? I do want to give them props too about one other thing. Probably the most important thing about a movie called Souls is they somehow found a way to do an afterlife that doesn't offend. Like, I don't think would offend anybody. You know, no matter what your religious or affiliation or anything like that. Like, that's kind of a feat in of itself. You know, because it's like it wasn't any one religion's version of heaven, but it's like a version of heaven in the afterlife that I think everybody can kind of get on board with.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to talk about, do you remember when the trailer was released and there was the backlash after the trailer because it was a movie with a black character that they had sort of, they put him into the soul character, which is no longer a black character, and that's basically like what they showed in the trailer. And there were people upset because there's been a history of non-white cartoon characters that get sort of changed to like an animal, like Princess and the Frog, or that Will Smith Spies in Disguise movie where Will Smith's character gets changed into a bird. Like, there's a history of taking non-white cartoon characters in some of these movies, and you basically dehumanize them and turn them into something that doesn't showcase or represent that group of people anymore. And I think that sort of watching this movie, while they did do that, like they also gave a huge chunk of the movie to the actual, the human form of the character. And I think that they were able to tell the story they wanted to tell. They did the character justice. And like you said, Reggie, like there's a huge amount of representation in this. And I think this is one case where, maybe at some points we need to maybe give works of art a chance. And I'm guilty of it myself, not even with this particular subject, but we watch a trailer and we think we know what it is, right before we see it, proverbially judging a book by its cover. And this seems to be a case where people jumped maybe a little too quickly to defend something that it has been an issue in the past. But I think that the creators of this movie, I don't know anything about Pete Docter or Kent Powers or Mike Jones, who did the part of the script. I don't know anything about them, but I think they did a wonderful job of sort of mixing those two things together, telling a really good story, and also, like you said, having a movie with African-American characters, but it didn't feel like a black person story. Like, just it's accessible to everyone, but showcases a diverse cast at the same time. I think they did a really good job with that. And I was thinking about that because we've been doing this thing recently where we watch a movie on Friday and then we have a whole week to sit with it before we talk about it, which I think is good, that we have a chance to digest it after watching it. And I just sort of thought about that, and it did sort of remind me that sometimes I am too quick to judge things that I see. I take a lot of things at face value without a ton of information, and maybe sometimes I need to take a step back and sort of get the whole picture and maybe give things a chance to develop before I jump on it. And that's something that I'm not one to make resolutions. Like, I don't make resolutions anymore since I was a kid. I'm tired of breaking them. But that's something that I want to make sure that I work harder on, not just this year, but in the future, because I think that that's a negative trait of mine. I'm just too quick to judge things, I think. So, not necessarily related, tangentially related to the movie, but I was thinking back on that. And at the time I thought, they've got a point, they have a point to make here. And, maybe I should have waited and actually seen what they did instead of judging it on a 90-second trailer that I watched. I don't know. Something for me to think about. I don't know how anyone else feels about it, but
the only thing I would say to that is maybe that's kind of the point of a trailer. So maybe they just need to cut better trailers.
Well, the trailer showcased the story that they wanted to tell.
True.
It's the trailer is faithful to the movie.
I'm not talking about the Soul trailer in particular. I'm just saying trailers in general.
Well, and I'm not just talking about movie trailers. I'm talking about life in general, like all things.
Okay.
I'm just using this as an example of something where, people are quick to make judgments on things without a ton of information. Is what I'm saying, and that was a little bit of a soapbox thing for me, but it was something that I thought about this week, and it's something that I want to work on, and maybe someone out there will hear this and maybe they'll work on it too. I don't know. Just trying to change lives here.
That's what we do here at Cinema Chat.
But back to the movie. I loved what they did with the Counselor Jerry role. Like we were talking about earlier with the 2D and 3D stuff. I thought that there was some really neat visual stuff that they did with Counselor Jerry, which I don't know why they made every counselor there Counselor Jerry. That seemed like an odd choice to me. Maybe you all could shed some light on that. I don't know why they all need to be named Jerry. It makes them difficult. Like I'm looking at the cast list and there's like 9 Counselor Jerrys. Like I don't know. I don't know which one's which. But I don't know. But I liked visually what they did with that, and they had some good voice actors there. And I think Counselor Jerry provides probably the most of the comedic moments in this. Counselor Jerry is sort of the funniest character in my opinion. Like I said, they had a lot of really good voice actors. Specifically Richard Ayoade. Did I get that right? I'm learning. He's funny. Well, I was going to say something. Alice Barger. I didn't know Wes Studi was even in this, but he's a Counselor Jerry. I don't know which one. I love Wes Studi, but I think that was a character that could have been a throwaway, and they sort of use that character to move the plot along whenever they get up there. It's sort of the exposition character, and a lot of times whenever you have a character that's there to advance the plot, you could take them or leave them. But I thought that injecting the humor into that role was a nice choice, because I was never, a lot of times with those exposition characters, I can get tired of seeing them on screen, but I was never tired of seeing Counselor Jerry pop up, because the plot was going to move along, but I was probably also going to get something to maybe a mild chuckle out of it at least. So I liked that. I thought that was good, and then, visually speaking, kind of a neat thing. But this was a heavy movie, man. Like I wasn't expecting emotions out of it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sat down on a Friday night to watch a Pixar cartoon movie with my friends. I wasn't expecting to. I didn't cry, but it definitely tugged at your heartstrings a little bit.
I got tears in my eyes. There was moments in there.
Missed up a little bit.
I wasn't like bawling, but I had tears in my eyes. I had to wipe away.
Oh, you don't have to be strong for me.
No, I wasn't. I mean, I'm not like sob crying over here. I'm not heave crying. But
it would be okay if you were.
No, yeah, 100% it would be.
But
you know what? That's one thing that it took me, not that it took me a while to sit down and watch the movie, but I was like, I kept putting it off because I missed it when we were doing the watch party or when you guys did the watch party. And I was like, well, I can watch this on my own time or whatever. And like, I kept hearing how, it hit everybody emotionally and everything. And I was like, okay, well, let me steel myself for this moment and sit down and watch this. And then I watched it, and I gotta say, I was expecting like up kind of emotions or something. That's what I thought was coming my way. And then when that didn't happen, I don't know. Like, I thought it was a great movie, but I guess I just missed what everybody else was kind of feeling from it. Like, it didn't hit me in any kind of emotional way, and I was kind of expecting that. And maybe that's why I feel like lukewarm to this a bit.
Yeah. What if you don't mind saying, Dasa, what was it that hit you?
I think it was just like the part that got me is when, it's kind of a spoiler, but when Joe's starting to realize like it's not necessarily the spark that he's looking for. It's just that being here and being a part of that, and just kind of in the last year, it's been a lot of tough things, and haven't really been able to do a lot of things and go a lot of places, and been stuck at home. But I guess that's really what we should be looking for. It's good, I guess, but I don't know. There was something about that, and just life and getting older. That got me. That part towards the end.
Yeah. So. Yeah, the end is sort of where
the end all comes together.
It sort of starts piecing together and getting that. It's tough. And just sort of seeing him, I don't know, like the out of body experience type shit where he's looking down on himself, and there's some very Reggie, some very like It's a Wonderful Life type vibe shit going on, because it's like, he's starting to realize, not necessarily that people miss him, but he's realizing what he's missing in life. Like, he's been hunting down and trying to make it through, but he's not really living, and he's sort of realizing that in that moment. There's something to it. But it didn't, I think it hits some people harder than others. Like, I felt it, but there've been a couple of different Pixar movies that I've had tears well up in the eyes a little bit. This one didn't quite get me there, but I won't say that I didn't feel anything emotionally, because that would be a lie. But
I guess that's what it was for me, is like, I was looking, like, I think it just didn't hit me that way, because like, I didn't think he had that bad of a life. Like, it didn't seem like I thought the story was going to be one where he was like, he finally gets his dream, and then he realizes that's not what he wants. But it's like, I felt like he finally got his dream, and it was what he wanted. And even though he's still like teaching, he still wants that. And I don't know why that seemed, it seemed like they wanted us to think that was a bad thing, but like, I don't know why it was a bad thing for him to want to be able to make it as a musician. I don't. It reminded me a bit of Coco, and I didn't understand what the problem was.
I don't think that was necessarily it. I think, I don't know how much is a spoiler on it, but
look, if you don't want the movie spoiled, just start it off.
It's a fantastic movie. Watch it.
Yeah, watch it, please.
It's not a kid's movie. It's whatever. But I think it's, he goes so much that he realizes like he's been chasing his entire life. He feels like he has to fill the shoes of his dad, and he's been like chasing this dream his whole life of being the successful musician, and he gets it. And then I think he realizes like, yeah, it's amazing. But then he's like, that's not necessarily what he should have been spending his entire life towards. And then he passes that off to 22, and he's like, all right, now it's your time to go, Phil. There is an alternative ending to this movie that got changed, where he continues on and he's traveling with Dorothy, and he's teaching students on the side, and one of them is the soul, or 22 as a child. So like that comes full circle, but they didn't feel like it. They felt like it wasn't as immediate of a closure. Where now we get like, yeah, I don't know. It was all one day, and
yeah. So I think he ultimately gets what he wants out of it, and what he wants is what he already had. But he does sort of realize that he had propped that success as a musician up as the only thing in life that was gonna fulfill him. And he sort of realizes along the way, like, he's missed all of this stuff along the way.
Like he just talked to his mom, and they got over basically everything that was bottling up, and he didn't even have to say it. He watched somebody else do it, and he's like, man, that was really easy. I probably could have done that. And then he had a really great relationship with his mom, and she came to the show, and it was one of those things, like, he just had those little fixes, and it's like, oh, that was really easy if I just would have spent more energy on other things besides just me. Right?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I got out of it. So.
Oh. Okay.
Reggie doesn't seem impressed with that.
Well, like, I feel like maybe that's what they were going for, but I don't know if that's what the movie conveyed, because it's not like I don't know. It didn't feel to me like he was a selfish dude. You know, like, he wasn't. I don't feel like he was doing anybody wrong. Like, I don't know what lesson he was supposed to learn, and it feels like he learned a lesson, and I was like, but I don't know what that lesson was.
I feel like I think his fate was ultimately decided. Like, I don't think he ever maybe he didn't actually ever come back to life. And like, it's this whole scenario of like him playing it through, like, oh, this is my ticket to the afterlife, and this is my seeing the things. If I could have done these things differently, my life would have been this. And then he accepts that, and he's like, okay, cool. And then he passes on, right? Because he dies at the end. He's gone, right? His soul floats away. He doesn't come back.
Right.
So I mean, like, it's almost like seeing the ghost of the Christmas past, and like that type of thing. And he's just like, okay, cool, because he broke the mold. He just didn't accept it. I think he was on his path to dying regardless, and I don't know. Maybe that was his passing through the light, and just, you know, he had to do that before he passed on. I don't know. That's how I looked at it. As a ghost movie where he had to take that to pass on anyways.
I was looking for a sound to play there.
Something sad. And
that boy's one mean motherfucker.
I don't know. I don't have anything for that. Here.
It's the question of the week. Your answers we seek. Question of the week. Movies.
And the question of the week that we have for you listeners, you can send in your answers to cinemachatpod@gmail.com. What is the lesson that Joe learns in Soul? Well, do we want to give scores?
Yes.
All right, Reggie, why don't you go first?
Okay. It may sound like I didn't like this movie, and it's not the case whatsoever. I really did enjoy this. I think often with Pixar movies, they're like really great experiences, but I don't ever feel the need to I don't feel the need to rewatch them, and that's has nothing to do with the quality of the movie. I think there are a lot of really great movies that you only need to watch once. And Soul is a really great movie that everybody should watch at least once. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It was a more adult animated movie, which I hope we get to see more of, and not adult as in like comic book or something, or violent. You know, it was just adult as in mature. Like, this is a movie that could have been done live action, and it would have been just as good. That being said, I really enjoyed it, really loved it, and I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow. That was not what I was expecting out of that. Just to sort of counter your point, I don't think this movie would be as good live action. I think that the visuals that they can utilize from an animation standpoint, and you know me, like, I almost always favor live action to animation, but I think this is a case where this particular story is better told in an animated setting. And I think the fact that it's such an adult story told in the animated setting sort of showcases the fact that the people that made this movie and came up with the story realized, like, this is a story for an animated movie. Even though it might not be a story for kids, it's a story that we should tell in an animated format. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of what I was so impressed with out of this movie, is just how the depth of it. And, like, you know, it's not a kid's movie. It's beyond, not all kids, but a lot of kids' comprehension, and it wouldn't hold a lot of kids' attention, I don't think. But it's great for adults, and I think that it sort of can bring up while it would bring up different questions of kids, I think it brings up ideas and questions in adults that maybe they hadn't really thought about. I think that they did a wonderful job. There's a lot of great voice acting in it, and I think that it's a good story. I got something out of it, and I think that you would watching it as well, and I'm going to join Reggie with that 9 out of 10. I think that it is... I mean, I would have to look at a list of Pixar movies to sort of jog my memory of everything that they've done, because they've had a lot of really great movies. But I feel like this is a top 5 Pixar movie. Like I said, I would need to look at a list because they've had a lot of really great ones. But this is a different kind of Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much right there. I am gonna go a little higher than you guys. Because it's very, very rare that a movie will pull like that type of response out of me. I really wanted to watch this again the next day. I'm gonna watch it again. Probably with my wife when you know she wants to sit down and do it. But I'm not gonna go much higher. I debated on giving this a 10 just because of I think it's the best Pixar movie I've ever seen. It hits me the deepest. I think it's a really, really good message. But I'm not going to go there because I have like, I'm saving the 10. I'm saving it for one day. So on that note, I'm going to give this a 9.5.
All right. Well, I mean, that's gotta be the biggest, turnaround in points from episode to episode that we've ever had.
It's like the best movie we've watched like months.
Because last week we had 2 1s and a 1.5, and this week we have 2 9s and a 9.5.
Yeah.
Rob gave Wonder Woman 84 a 4, but he's not here to mess up our averages this week. I'm just kidding, Rob. But yeah, Soul's a fantastic movie. Everyone should, I almost said go out and watch it. Everyone should fire up Disney Plus, and if you don't have Disney Plus, ask a friend who has Disney Plus and watch Soul, because I think
you could ask me. I need to make sure people use it. I get my money out of it.
Don't ask me. I'm not sharing my password with you, piss ants.
No, there's a lot of cool originals on Disney Plus, Reggie. You should probably watch. You'd probably like them.
I got a feeling you're gonna be getting a lot of use out of it in the next couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
I have. I'm going to be watching the Newsies next week because I've never seen that.
My wife likes it. She loves that movie. So it's a classical music. It's a classic musical that, you know, she digs it. So I'm sure
there are much better Christian Bale movies that you could watch, Reggie. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Join us next week when we review a movie that is to be determined because we haven't picked it yet. But following that, we do have our next 3 movies after that picked out. We have One Night in Miami, which is an Amazon Prime movie, which I'm very excited about. I think Reggie's also excited about it. We also have, after that, Locked Down. Which streaming service is that going to be on, Reggie?
I think that's HBO Max.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
It's Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Close enough. You say tomato, I say tomato. And then The Little Things, which is one of the Warner Brothers straight to HBO Max with the theatrical release movies. Got Denzel, Jared Leto. Oh, who's the third one? There's another. Oh, Rami Malek. So pretty good cast. I'm interested in it. So those will be the 3 after the next one. We still don't know what the next one is. But,
I was just gonna say, what are we watching this week?
We don't know. It's a surprise to us and to you. But we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Later.
Bye.
You don't need to follow me. You don't need to follow anybody.
But you can follow us. I'm Brent, and I am
Ed's not Malcolm.
And he's Rob, and he's
Rob 1.
There's also Reggie, who is
Hidden.
We can't forget about Dawson at
Andy!
Underscore
Dawson.
Don't forget to follow the podcast at Cinema Chat Pod on Twitter. And check out our website, cinemachatpodcast.podbean.com.
I'm following you now. I'm just going to follow you everywhere. I'm just going to follow you the rest of my life.
Thanks, Peter. Now, if the rest of you would get off your ass and follow us, that would be great.
Mail, motherfucker!
Oh, and don't forget to send your emails to cinemachatpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Please, send us something. Have a good week, everyone. Goodbye.
Now's the point in the show where I say something that gives us like that little bumper thing, but I don't have anything this week.
My headset's about to die, so...
Oh, that's cool. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.